Hey, everybody, welcome to the Entrepreneur Motivation Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Bello, and today I want to talk about a lesson from one of my coaching clients. And this is a new thing. I'm still not really considering myself a coach. I have opened it up before, and I've mentioned before that I'd like to get into the productivity coaching and have group coaching, Zoom calls, online courses. To be honest with you, I am a big fan of the one thing of narrowing my focus. So sometimes I'm just like, let me just focus on real estate, focus on real estate. Once that gets going, once I have enough automations in place, if I'm making enough to feel comfortable with the income and the consistency, like once I get to that level, I'll be able to delegate things, automate it a little more, and focus more on my coaching and productivity coaching stuff that I want to do. So I'm always torn between like, that's what I'm passionate about. That's what I'd like to do. And real estate, I see more as like, sure, I love it and it's fun and it's flexible, but I kind of see it more as a day job. Being a real estate agent, ultimately, it's just not what I have in mind. Like for me, 5, 10 years from now, I don't see myself as being like top real estate agent in Houston and like people just see me as an agent. Like I want to be more than that. I want to be a coach, a speaker, a mentor, an instructor, all those different things, right? A mindset coach, productivity, mindset mastery coach, all these different cool terms that you throw around. But in this episode, I want to talk about a cool lesson from a new coaching client. And I haven't even been open about it really that much. I've kind of mentioned it in passing that I'd like to consider doing it, but it's just amazing. It's like the law of attraction at work and just consistently showing up for you guys, consistently putting out as much value as I can. It's starting to come back and, reciprocity is real. And I actually had within the last few months, 2 people reach out asking if I'd be willing to coach them. One guy is a real estate agent in my market. We were about to work on a deal together that ended up falling through, but we stay in touch now. And he replied to one of my stories on Facebook saying, hey, I don't know if you'd be open to this. I love what you do. You're killing it with social media and content creation. Would you mind teaching me like how to film, how to make the videos, how to update my stories on social media, Instagram and things like that? And I was kind of flattered because I'm like, wow, I don't even have that many followers. I guess I'm just omnipresent in a way where I'm posting, sharing my post to my story, pushing it to Facebook, posting on Snapchat, putting up YouTube videos, releasing content, releasing podcasts. I stopped on the blog posts for now. I was doing the blog post plus the podcast plus the YouTube and trying to make them all somewhat diverse. So it's not the same piece of content 3 different ways, but it was just so time consuming. And with me being in real estate, like the podcast is a passion of mine, but it's not my main focus. So in any case, this guy approached me and I took him on and I said, hey, that's great. I'd love to help. I'd love to get more into the coaching side. So let me go ahead and say yes, let's work together. We'll do 30-minute sessions, Zoom calls. I'll record it, provide it to him afterwards for access. We've already done 4 sessions, I believe, and we're continuing until I don't really have a set number of sessions. And I'm being straightforward and honest. Like, I don't know how many sessions it's going to take. I hope that I can communicate it effectively. I'm going to have some prepared documents beforehand on a Google Doc, so we have some kind of outline for the course material. And so far, he's found value. He's been able to pick my brain, get questions answered fairly quickly, and I'm able to show him my screen when I hold my phone up to the camera. We're able to go step by step and then do exercises. And I've showed him how to update stories, pin the location, bring in the cool little GIFs, all these things that I've just learned from trial and error and just putting time into the things. And now we're even talking about how to edit quick, short videos, filming in one take and then editing a few things to clean it up and then posting the long video on Facebook, maybe putting it up on YouTube, repurposing content, putting snippets on Instagram, all those master hacks. And I'm also making sure to keep it as simple as possible because it seems like a lot when someone adds me on Facebook and they see me posting YouTube videos, podcast links, little mini clips and snippets, and then statuses and new listing alerts for real estate. Like they're like, dude, how do you do all this stuff? I'm just, people watch all my stories and never post. There's a lot of those types of people. And then there's also the competitors and the friends of mine that just post all the time and they don't even watch what other people are doing. I just say all this to say that I'm really excited to kind of start to step into this coaching role. And it is like a case by case basis. I'm not really open or marketing that I'm accepting clients, but at the same time, it's helping me dip my toe in the water of how do I like coaching? What's my style? What topic do I want to talk to? But I learned a very valuable lesson from a podcast listener who listens, and he just reached out this last week or so, and we're going to be working together. And if you're listening to this, man, you know who you are. I really appreciate just you reaching out. And we've communicated a few times on Instagram Messenger over the last year, and he finally reached out to see if he could help secure my services and my assistance with helping him start and grow a podcast. Let me see. I just want to pull up our texts here, and I want to keep it private and everything. I'm not going to say who it is or give away all the details, but we just messaged a little bit back and forth. He asked if I'd be open to even considering, and just look at the way he asked. Let me pull it up in Instagram just so I don't mess it up. But I was so humbled to have been considered for even helping with this, because like I say on episodes all the time, I have self-doubt. I'm like, who am I to teach something? Yeah, I got a college degree. Yeah, I saved millions of dollars in a large company with different projects I worked on. But then I have the justification. I only saved millions of dollars there because it was a global organization and they already spend tens of millions of dollars a year. So of course I can save $1 million. It sounds impressive. Subconsciously, that little voice is talking me down, and like the things I want to brag about, it's pulling me in. And it's good because I want to stay humble. But at the same time, let's see. He said, I'm hoping to retain your assistance. Your time and expertise is valuable, and I'm willing to pay for it. That's how he started it off. He wasn't like, hey, can I pick your brain? Hey, can you get on a free Zoom call? Can I give you a call and just like see what you think about this? He started by saying he values my time and he understands it's valuable and that he was willing to pay for it. And so he said he's looking to start a podcast, but he'd prefer to obtain guidance outside of his market. And then he said, I understand that you may not have all the answers, but I appreciate your focus on providing honesty and value. I pass on most opportunities, so no offense if you're slammed, but if you're open or if you're up to helping me get this rolling, let's jump on a call and figure out how to work together. Love the pods recently. Keep rocking. I'm like, dude, of course. I love that. And I was like, hey, huge thank you for reaching out. I'm excited to hear you're starting a podcast. I do have to admit I've been pretty strapped lately, but I enjoy keeping myself busy. And I am wanting to get into the coaching area a little more. And so I said, yeah, let's talk about it. Let's get on a call, and I'm just paraphrasing here because we talked a lot more than this. And then he told me when he was available. We exchanged number and email, and now we've been communicating. But after the Zoom call, it got to that point where I was like, I don't know how much to charge on an hourly basis. And I had kind of bounced it off my parents earlier that day. Like, hey, what do you think? Like, I've never charged for this. I didn't really have a lot of whole other peers that are doing this kind of coaching. I've got friends teaching fitness, and they've got different clients that pay monthly, and they get training and one-on-one videos. And it's a different package that my friends offer to their clients. But I didn't really know how to price myself. Like, what am I worth? I've bagged groceries for $6.35 when I was 17 years old. And I've gotten paid 28 or 30 bucks an hour in corporate America in oil and gas, which is pretty solid, but it was a salaried job. And so I was like, what do you think about like 50 bucks, and this is just me being honest. Like, hey, I don't know where to price myself. I don't know how much value this is to the person who's looking to reach out and to get some help. And so we talked, and I literally, while my parents were telling me, and of course I say get advice from people who've done this before. So like my dad owned a dry cleaning business for 20 something years, and my mom helped him out with that. But he was like never a one-on-one coach or a productivity or mindset coach. And he was saying like, oh, maybe like 150 bucks, 200 bucks an hour, at least 85 bucks an hour. And part of me was like, oh, that's too much. I don't know. I'm thinking like the employee mindset, right? I was thinking maybe 50 bucks an hour. That sounds good, right? And so even though I had that idea of like, oh, is 100 too much? After the call, I said, hey, what do you think about 50 bucks an hour? Is that fair? And we got off the call. He's like, hey, I'll book the first session. I can't wait to talk to you. And then he, as I was updating my Instagram story, I saw the little email come down or the Venmo notification saying that he had paid me. And on the actual Venmo account, it said two 30-minute sessions at $100 an hour. So I offered him help at $50 an hour with this thing. And he texted me this: I just booked for June 3rd and sent you some money. I upped the rate to $100 an hour. And although it may screw me later on, my non-professional opinion or my non-professional recommendation is to keep your rate at least 3 digits. Perceived value is a huge thing. And I've learned that the more clients pay, the more rational they are, and the less they second guess you. Life gets easier and you make more money. And then he sent me the little like bang, like bam emoji. Dude, thank you so much. That really pumps me up. And I messaged him back. Like I'm kind of humble. And when I was telling him the $50 an hour thing, I was kind of nervous. I'm like, I don't know how to charge. And I told him that. Like, I don't know what to value it at. What is it worth to you, right? How much is my time worth to you? Because I don't know how to value my own time. And I told him, hey, I just saw that. I really appreciate that. And it's helping me increase my own self-belief. So I appreciate that. I said, appreciate that twice. Also, the more people pay, the more they'll actually do their homework and apply the takeaways. Going to provide as much value as possible. Don't you worry. And he's like, no doubt. That's why the top 1% hire personal trainers. If they didn't, it's too comfortable just sitting in their mansions on their couch all day. Ha ha. Thanks, Chris. Talk to you then. And I was just so pumped. I told my mastermind group, I was like, hey guys, like, look how amazing this thing is that just happened and this lesson that I took away. It really goes to show that you can't assume that your reality is everybody's reality. Here's an example. Let's say when you're driving through a nice neighborhood and you're seeing mansions and you're like, man, say you're an average person, you live in a little 3-bed, 2-bath place in a modest neighborhood, and you don't really want for anything, but you have a basic life, right? Basic cable, basic bike, all the houses are cookie cutter. That's all you're used to. And then you drive through the neighborhood where every house is custom built. $10 million house there, $8 million. I'm just talking in Texas numbers. $10 million would probably get you like, a distressed property in California. No offense, my California friends. I'm just joking here. But yeah, let's say in Texas, like a $10 million house, you got a really nice house. You might even have a yacht with a boat on it. I saw a picture of some guy in the Conroe area, Lake Conroe, who has that, some country singer or something. And when you're driving through a neighborhood like that, it just seems so far out of reach. Like, how do they get that? Your parents might both be hardworking, like blue collar workers, and you have no idea how you can even produce that amount of money to afford something like these houses that you're seeing. And then there could be another story or another, let's say when I'm walking through those neighborhoods, I've gone jogging through really nice neighborhoods like River Oaks in town before. And then there's a school where there's like second and third graders walking home from school at 3 p.m. and their parents are picking them up. It's the school like right down the street. Those kids' realities, their neighbors they're in the $8 million house. Their neighbors have the $6.5 million house with the Rolls Royce and the Range Rover that are their daily drivers. And that is their norm. So when they see all the crazy stuff and the stuff that's normal for you and I, they think that's like poor person status. To us, they're like rich person status. And you always see the comparison game, right? Like people who are starving in Africa or in a third world country, they look at our quote unquote basic house that's a 3-bed, 2-bath in a modest cookie cutter neighborhood. And we've got all the food on the table that we need. We got the bike we wanted for Christmas. That's like their dream. They would kill for that life. So we're always looking. There's a meme somewhere. I wonder if I can find it. Let me see if I can pull it up here and I can share my screen because I'm just recording this in Zoom. Never satisfied picture or meme or something, helicopter. I'm just typing a bunch of random stuff, but there's a really cool image. Okay, cool. I found it. It's on a YouTube video here. I'm going to share my screen. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you're not, I don't know if it has words or not. It's been a while since I've seen this, but let me share my screen 1 second here. Okay, so let me just explain it. So there's a guy with a Lamborghini or something, or it looks like a Lambo. It's a nice car, and he's looking at the helicopter. And he's saying, I'd love to have that helicopter. And now the guy in the BMW next to him is looking at the Lambo saying, that's my dream car. And next to the guy in the BMW, there's another car that's like, I want that off-road car. And he's in a regular car. So it's just showing that we're all comparing ourselves to each other. Now there's a guy in like a beater looking car saying, look at that new car. And his windshield's also cracked. Now there's a guy on a bike saying, if only I could afford a car. And he's looking at the car with the cracked windshield and saying, I wish I had a car. Now there's a guy on the street saying, I wish I had a bike. It's crazy. It's perspective. And now there's a kid on a wheelchair who says he can go wherever he wants. And he's looking at the person who's a pedestrian, who's able to walk. The punchline, Be grateful for what you have. So that's super powerful. I don't know if you guys have seen that before. I love it. But yeah, anyway, what I wanted to say with that whole example, and I got a little sidetracked, is that your reality is not necessarily everyone's reality. Like when I said $50 an hour, it really depends on who's on the other side receiving that message, right? If it was someone who's just starting off and they've never earned more than $10 an hour, $50 an hour seems like a lot. You hear that when some people are like, I can't afford that. That's too expensive. Oh my gosh, that's not worth it. But then there's that other demographic where they know what their time is worth. They've found a way to charge more per hour for their time. And they also understand that value is something that's, as long as you're receiving more value than the amount you're paying, then it is worth it. So some people say stuff's expensive all the time, regardless of the value they get. They just don't see the value. They see the price tag. And then others actually see the value of what they're getting, and the price tag doesn't mean so much at that point. When I said $50 an hour, I kind of had an idea who this guy was on the other side because I followed him and we've communicated before on Instagram, and we're friends on there, or we follow each other. But it really depends. Like, so somebody else might be like, $50 an hour, I can't afford it. But for me, thinking, I was like, $50 an hour, like, cool. I'm getting paid more per hour than I did at my oil and gas job when I had to go sit under a crappy boss. And then so this guy, he was like, hey, perceived value is everything. If you at least charge 3 digits, people are going to honor your time more. They're going to perceive it as being more valuable. And that's so true, right? If you're looking at cars and you see the price tags and you're just like, oh, that one's only 15 grand. Like, it must not be that good. You have that perception of the quality is going to be cheaper. It might break sooner. It's not going to be as good versus going with that $30,000 starter car where it's got a little more of the upgrades. It's got a nicer seat. It's probably got a better warranty package. You know, those different things in your mind that go on. When you pay a higher price, the perception is that you have higher quality, higher service, higher value overall. So thank you so much for that lesson. It's like the person I'm coaching coached me. And it really just goes to show, and I mentioned this on the call with him, I was like, hey, we all have something we can teach each other. We can all learn something from each other. But it's just interesting to see that, like, some people are willing to pay to learn things because sometimes you may not know something that someone else knows, but you also don't really care to know it. It's not a problem in your life. It's not something that you're looking to solve. But if someone else knows something that you have a problem with or that you're wanting to solve in your own life, that thing becomes more important to you, right? So he's willing to pay a certain amount per hour for me to teach him how to podcast. But to someone else who doesn't see the value in podcasts, who doesn't care about podcasting, they're going to think that's a waste of money, time. Like, why would you spend 3 digits an hour paying someone to learn how to do a podcast? I can just learn for free on YouTube, but I don't even care to do that because podcasting's too much time. That mindset person would not see the value. The person who studies podcasts and has been listening to my podcast and maybe sees the value that over time it just brings up my personal brand because people know me, like me, trust me, want to get to work with me in different ways. That spoke to him in a way where he wanted to give me a chance. And people do business with people that they know, like, and trust. That's another thing. It's so crazy. Like, I had another introduction recently and it was to a virtual assistant. He's going to help me automate more content, create little cartoons of myself with memes. I'm looking to get that done for myself. And when he messaged me after our Zoom call, he kind of showed me all the package, plus it had the strength of the referral from one of my friends. And when he messaged me, it was at gmail.com. And we all get so many of these spam emails where it's like, hello, sir, I'm from India, or this or that. No offense to my friends in India. I'm half Indian, but like, we get a lot of spam from India and SEO agencies and marketing agencies saying that they can create a website and it's at a Gmail or a Yahoo. And we're like, man, I would never respond to this. They don't even have the credibility. They don't have a real website. Why would I ever reply? But through this referral, when this guy messaged me through his Gmail account, I was like, okay, he showed me the value. We got on a Zoom call. He showed me from his desktop computer on a shared screen all these pieces of content that he had made for credible influencers who I look at their Instagram pages and I can see the pieces of content that they've recently shared, and it matches with the original files that this guy has on his computer. And whenever he sent over the price and stuff, I didn't really negotiate. I was just like, oh, that's what it is. You got to deliver it with sincerity, and he knows his value that he's able to charge me because he's done it before. So that's something that we all kind of figure out over time is what is your time worth? How much value are you providing? And that will help you price your services and your products accordingly. This whole episode was just a huge jibber jabber of a, conglomerate of different ideas I had in my mind. And I hope that you found something valuable in this message. If you ever struggled with finding out how much to charge for something, or like, what is your time worth, or having the self-doubt, like, hey, you're not alone. We're all there. And I hope to look back on this episode and this video in 5 or 10 years when I'm charging $5,000 an hour or whatever my rate is, $10,000 for a mastermind, where you get access to me 2 times a year. Like, people pay $100,000 to be in a mastermind that only meets a couple times a year, but you get like access to the instructor and those kinds of things. And at one point in time, the people who are charging $100K a year, they were at this stage where I'm at, where they're like, is this the right amount? Am I worth this? Like, am I adding enough value? Can I really do this? I want to play small sometimes. Like, it's just safer to just stick with real estate and not get into this other space. But then there's that part inside that's like, dude, that's what you want to do. You don't want to be a real estate agent full-time in 10 years from now. You want to be having an empire, growing some rentals, investing in real estate, but you want to have a coaching business. You want to impact people. You want to grow your podcast. You want to go speak around the world and have masterminds in Costa Rica or Bali or all these cool places. That is what, in my mind, is the ultimate vision and dream for myself. And I'm learning all these skills along the way: email automation, marketing, Facebook ads, content, creating things through Canva, making graphics look very nice. The list never stops, and there will always be more tools to learn and whatnot. But the thing is, as long as you're growing, if you're not growing, you're dying, right? I think my friend Lilo on another episode, he said a nice line that I remember: if you're not evolving, or if you don't evolve, you'll dissolve. If you're not evolving, you're dissolving, right? So always evolve, always learn, always push yourself. Be open to opportunities. While you should have singularity and focus on what your main thing is, if you have a little bit of interest in something that's kind of calling your name from the sideline, like, don't just turn it down immediately. Maybe that's something you should be open to exploring a little more and seeing if it's a good fit, and seeing if that's really your destiny kind of knocking at your door. And I hope you guys are having a great week. I know things continue to be kind of crazy out there. Stay safe, stay sane and safe. And like I always say, do the best you can to control what you can. And the things that you can't control, I mean, I don't know how to solve all the problems in the world, right? I'm trying the best I can with what I have now. And there's enough stories of failure to success, and people who have been bankrupt and they've been on the brink of bankruptcy, and they've turned things around just through persistence and creativity. And make sure to sleep on it. I'm listening to Psycho Cybernetics for the second time. If you haven't checked that book out, highly recommend it. And it talks about different things like, hey, when people like Albert Einstein were having troubles with with problems they were working on, they would take a cat nap or they would sleep on it. And sometimes the answers would be there in the morning because their subconscious mind had been at work solving the problem. So no matter where it is, if you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling frustrated, you're feeling like you kind of are out of options on wherever it is that you want to go, just sleep on it, think on it, meditate, pray on it, whatever it is that you want to do, and get some counsel on it. I'll make another episode here soon. In like a week or two, I actually have my first session with a therapist/coach. It's something that I never thought I needed. Like, oh, I don't need a therapist. I don't need coaching or a psychiatrist or whatever. But I heard it said on another podcast, and entrepreneurs that I admire and listen to said that they go regularly just to talk to somebody through their problems and think bigger and eliminate the self-doubt and the blocks. And I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I'll let you guys know how that is. I'll make an episode that details why I did it, why I'm signing up, as well as how it was. And did I have the breakthrough? I mean, I know it's not going to happen in one session. It's going to take some time, but I will keep you guys posted on that journey because it's something that I want to be open about and speak about. I know a lot of people would probably keep it inside and not confess to people that they've signed up for something like this. But I just have that feeling of like, I'm trying all these things. I keep self-sabotaging. Sometimes I have those doubts in my mind where I know I can do more, but there's that little bit of self-doubt that causes me to hold back. And that little bit that I hold back causes me to not be at my full potential. And so if I can just figure out how to break that down and just stop playing small and just go all in and not be afraid and accept, maybe the affirmations, something like that. And I'm like, I'm successful. I am capable. I'm making my own self affirmations as well. So I'm trying everything. I just want to, how do I unlock that superpower that's dormant within me? That's what I'm looking for. And that's what I'm hoping to find through these coaching sessions. It's like a life coach / therapist thing. So I will keep you guys posted on how that goes. Hope you're all doing well. And if I figure out the secret to unlock my inner superpowers, I will definitely share it with you so that while I'm paying for this one-on-one sessions on an hourly basis, I'll be able to distill some of that information to you guys here for free, you guys and girls, and hopefully that will be helpful in your lives, in your businesses, in your relationships, etc. So with that being said, I hope you're all having a great week. I look forward to catching you on the next episode of the Entrepreneur Motivation Podcast, and I will talk to you all soon. See ya.